Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, a place to find connection and a sense of belonging, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about sensitivity and the richness that it adds, the strengths we have because of our sensitivity, and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there, to the creatives, healers, sensitives, and deep thinkers. I'm so glad you're here today. In this episode, I'm talking to Shelly Aaron and Melissa, who were two participants in the last round of HSP courses. We sat down and made a number of recordings, and so I put two of them together for this episode. Shelly Aaron is a video producer and a podcast editor. She does amazing work. And so at the end, I'm going to tell you where you can find the video portions of what you're hearing because we made a number of these. But these are spontaneous conversations. I had no idea what either one of them were going to say. It was just an honest, open conversation. And you can hear what my response is when they answer some of the questions because it just was really lovely to hear. I do want to let you know that Shelly was having some internet problems, and so there are times when the audio cuts out. There's this buffering that happens. We sat down and did this all at one time, and we're just going to have to go with what we have. So I'm just letting you know that the audio is a little bit wonky. I did the best that I could, but just kind of know that that's how it is. I hope you'll really enjoy this. The challenge that I'm having, I'm loving the feedback that participants are sharing in their experience in the online HSP course. I have this concern that people are going to go into the course having really high expectations that they're going to have the same experiences that these folks did. And that's something, if you decide you want to take the course, we can talk about. But this is just what keeps coming up for me as I'm hearing these really wonderful responses that people are having. And in this episode, some of the questions that I ask are, what are some of the things that you feel are important to share about the course? And Melissa talks about not wanting to take the course, but her husband took it and what she got out of it and how this impacted their relationship. She learned that one of her children is highly sensitive, and she talks about how their relationship has changed. We talk about, did you feel connected to other members because we met online? And what was it like to be in a group of other HSPs? Melissa also said that due to her issues around money, this was not something that she wanted to spend money on. And she explains why she did and what she felt she got out of the course. And I also asked them if either one of them felt like anybody ever dominated the group or if they didn't get their needs met. And I asked, did you feel like the way that I responded to you was loving and kind? Did you ever felt like I shamed you or, your needs were not honored and respected? So my hope is that this is helpful and that you enjoy listening to this. As I've said before, even if you're not interested in taking the course, I think that when we listen to feedback that other HSPs have to give, it really helps us to kind of assess where we're at with our skills and our sense of connection and boundaries and things like that. So I'll leave that up to you. And now on to the show. Oh, if you want to contact Shelly for any editing or video production, her contact information is in the show notes. And now, on to the show. Hi, so we're back again. I'm talking with a couple of the participants who took the online HSP course. We're recording these in small segments. So we just stopped the last segment and started, and I asked everybody, what are some things that you want to talk about that you feel like are important that I'm not asking you about? And so Melissa gave some information, and so we were joking, but it's the most authentic thing I can do. So tell me what it was that I did during the course that made it really helpful for you. I mean, what I said between recordings, tell me how amazing I am. But this is really as a result of something that you had shared. So go ahead, Melissa.
Right. So I think the thing that was so amazing was that you've done your work. You know this, HSP, what it is to be an HSP inside and out. You are one. And so your ability to be able to hear us in a way that I think I certainly never heard myself. And when we're hedging and we're silencing voices, that comes from people not accepting the way we come into the world or with the way we present in the world as HSPs. and really your true brilliance, and I'm not getting paid for this or anything, but genuinely, your brilliance is being able to hear people, what they're saying and what they're not saying, HSPs, and to call us on it and give voice to those parts of us that society, just the way our culture is, that generally silences those voices and tries to dampen our sensitivity. You helped me blossom as an HSP because you've been there and you know what it's like, and you're able to call out those parts that our culture has told us are not okay, but we can blossom in a way that we're actually very useful to everyone themselves.
I'm having a mix, like part of me wants to go like, oh, it's so nice hearing this stuff. And then I feel like maintain that professional face. So I'm just like, this is an example of, I'm struggling with that. Like, do I genuinely gush or do I like, okay, thank you very much.
Well, see, that's one of the nice things is that you are so good at sharing where you're genuinely out, whether it's what you're supposed to be doing or not. And that's such a good example.
Oh, thanks. So I want to ask for clarification because I heard you use the word call out, like I would call out things.
Oh, right.
And that brings up a connotation for me. So I just am wondering if other people have that also. So can you talk a little bit more about what that looked like or felt like for you?
Well, you would actually ask us if it's okay if you call or if you brought something up. You're always so gentle. I can't even remember the wording. I wish you're so good about it. I'm sure you can refresh me here, but you always made sure that we were always comfortable in what we wanted to share. That was okay. You never pushed us to overshare. There was always a very safe environment.
Did either of you ever feel shame or like I was pulling the cover out or exposing something before you were ready? Like I've had people do that to me. Like, I don't think I'm ready for anybody to be talking about that. So did you ever have that experience that you felt exposed in a way that felt like it was not honoring?
No, never. If I may, you really show up as your authentic self, and that gives us permission to show up as we are. Did I freeze again?
We thought you did. Maybe you had a long thought. I think you're good.
Because your faces both froze, but I'll say that again, just for the record. That you show up, Patricia, as, authentically as you beautifully are. And that gives us permission to do the same. So I never felt shame. I never felt blame. I felt like I could just show up the way I was and I think, if I may, Melissa, you said call out, but I think you're really observant in knowing what's going on. I think you draw out what we want to say, but we're afraid. We were afraid to, or we were embarrassed to. And so you have a gentle, persuading way about you that it made us feel safe and welcome to show up and what's going on and how we're working through those things. And then what was also so beautiful is that the other members of our group would also chime in. And then, you have that much more support and authenticity, in the group. So it felt really, really safe. And I think that's important for an HSP.
Yeah, call out probably isn't the best way to put it. Maybe draw out, but that almost sounds manipulative. I don't know. You just create a safe space, and you helped give voice to, parts that I was told were not allowed. And I can use them now in a constructive way. The more I suppress those voices, the more they control my behavior. So it's really been lovely.
So I feel like I'm getting a love bath. I mean, I'm getting a love bath, and I love this. It's interesting. I've had people say, like, I don't like doing online work. There's no connection there. I need to be in person. And I'm not negating that that's not true for people. What I hear you talking about is, as highly sensitive people, we are so observant. And I've suffered a lot. I've done a lot of my own work. And because of that, I feel hyper aware of, like what I'm imagining might be going on in someone's head. I can pick up people's body movements, or if it looks like they're not responding. for me personally, I don't find the online connection to be a barrier. I feel like sometimes people feel even more comfortable because they're in their own environments, they're relaxed. I just feel an amazing sense of connection. I feel like what you both shared just really spoke to that. And I think that that's part of what the gift of having the group is. I feel like I'm talking more than I wanted you to talk. So my gremlins are going off right now. So this is how I do it. I guess maybe what I'll do is turn it back to you of, how was it being in a group of, because this is not our whole group. I think there were a total of 6 of us in your group. How was that being in a group of 6 people? And if you think about being in a group of 6 people, what comes up for you? And then how was it being in a group of 6 HSPs?
I think it was really fun. I think being an online course, it's really important to show up because it's easy to go, oh gosh, I have this, and the other. It's, and so making it a priority to show up and be here and, each and every week is where you gain that momentum of connection and, doing the work. If you don't show up, I feel like it's not only a loss for you, but a loss for the other people in the group, because you will get so much more out of it. And I love it when we're all here. And I know, some things are unavoidable and you can't make it, but it's just such a joy to see it when people are showing up and being a part of the group.
Yeah. For me, I found the video format lovely because I did feel like I could pick up on the social cues over the video. And I like not having, I know my husband he took the course too. And when he was in bed, he took the whole course in bed because that's where he felt most comfortable. I showed up however I showed up. I did not look this fancy most of the time.
Me neither.
So it was nice. And I feel like I've gotten some lifelong friends out of it because we have a little Marco Polo group and we're sharing, how our times are going. And it's just nice to feel like, because HSPs are only 15 to 20% of the population.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to find. And then of those 15 to 20, how many people have done their work? So finding people who are HSPs who have done the work can be challenging. So it's nice to be able to cherry pick all around the country, all around the world, and get a group of people who are interested in doing the work and are having the same aha moments along with you.
Yeah. And your group has chosen to stay in touch via Marco Polo, which is an app that I've talked about. Another group decided they're going to continue on Zoom calls, and they created a Facebook group. Every group has a very different flavor. And I want to go back to something that you said, Shelly, just to clarify that every group, somebody missed at least. People were not able to make all the groups. Sometimes people turn the video off. That the other thing about this course is you get out of it what you put into it, and it's really about self-care. So if that means that you need to take care of yourself and not show up on video or not show up to group, or you have to miss, you will still benefit from the course. And so I know that we often will I know I'm not going to be able to make, 1 or 2 of the things. I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't take it. That you will get exactly what you need from it. And that if anything, this is really about you learning how to honor what your needs are. And if that means that you don't come 1 week, or you eat, or you come late, or you leave early, that's really okay. Yeah.
Right. And I felt that too, because I went to She Podcast conference and I came back and I was jet lagged and I was on the verge of feeling like I was getting sick. And I felt that from you. And I texted and said, I'm not going to make it. And support yourself and hope you're feeling better. And so I felt that support, even though I didn't make it. I felt awful not being able to be there, but I felt like it was still okay.
Yeah. Well, we tend to have these really high expectations. And so that's the other part of the modeling of that. It's really okay for you to be wherever you're at, to show up however you're at. So how was it being in a group of other people, being online? What were your thoughts before you took the course? And then what was your experience once you actually had the experience?
Before joining the course, I basically listened to your podcast and felt somewhat relieved that I wasn't the only one. I wasn't really sure what an HSP was, or even if I was one. But over time, I've learned that through, more listening through your podcast and then joining the course, that I'm not alone. That was a huge thing for me, because I think it sort of tends to magnify when you feel like you're alone. And, like, what's wrong with me, and why am I getting so upset, or why do I have these feelings? Being in the group with your leadership and the camaraderie of the other participants, other people in our group, I felt like I finally belonged somewhere where it was more than just sharing your stories or problems. It was about receiving support, offering support, and really showing up in your authentic way. And I feel like I'm carrying that into other areas of my life. Feels good. It's still work in progress.
It always will be. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah. So it's still, like I said, I'm integrating a lot of the things that we've discussed, and it's been really, really helpful to know that I'm not alone out there, and just being able to navigate feeling or situation kind of just like one step at a time.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
For me, I would have never taken this course. I am an incredibly frugal person, downright cheap. My husband decided to take this course, and I was like, hey, I don't want you to get ahead of me here. So I decided, okay, I'll take it. I'm just blown away. I can't believe how much I would have missed out on. Just how different things are now. And honest, our marriage is better because we have some common language, and we're both taking so much better care of ourselves. Our boundaries are better. It was shocking to me that I would have never done this. Never. And I'm so glad. It's so sad to me to think of what if I had missed it? Because this really is so much more.
Well, and this is the first time that I'm hearing this, because I put you and your husband in separate groups because we needed to do that, and I don't talk to him about you, and I don't talk to you about him. So this is the first time that I'm hearing that. So for somebody who is like you, that feels like, I've spent money on courses, I know about being an HSP, that's a lot of money. What would you say as far as the experience that what is it that they may not be seeing or taking into consideration? Because I have those same things too around spending money on courses. I've been there, I've done that. It's not worth it. It's expensive.
Right.
What would you share with somebody to maybe help them see it a little bit differently, or the value that they get?
What I would say to people who don't want to take the course, to spend the money, I would say think back to the first time you learned the term HSP and what it meant. And you had that like, oh my gosh, that's what it is moment. Take that. And if that was significant for you, then this course will blow your mind and change your life. If you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm an HSP or not, it's going to help you to really understand it. Because my husband is still not completely sure that he's an HSP. I think even if he isn't, he's still a very sensitive person, and this still helped him very much. But I definitely think, for me, speaking for myself, is when I learned the term, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. The course gave me so much more than I was learning in the books, even though the information was there. It was just kind of being able to integrate it and figure out how to use that information in a way that, for me, became very life-changing.
Thanks for sharing.
I agree. And I think that once you, step in that arena of being okay with I think we have a tendency to be, oh, you're too sensitive. Oh, I didn't, I was just joking. When you finally step out of that label of being too sensitive, and you can say, no, this is actually a really wonderful trait, because you are so feeling and heartfelt. And I feel like being in this course gives us permission to stand up for who we are and what we're doing. And again, I keep going back to the support. It's just so huge. to have other people out there rooting for you, bouncing stuff off one another. And you can't get that from just speaking, but it's not.
So you cut out on us, Shelly.
I know. Where did I cut out at?
You were about a sentence or two behind what you said. And I can't pick up where you were. Do you remember, Melissa?
It's gone now.
It's good stuff. What she said is it's good stuff.
It was good. Oh, but I do want to say another thing, of course, helped me with. I have one son that is very sensitive, which is probably very much like my husband. And the other one is obviously we took the test with both of them, and my youngest scored very high. It changed our relationship, because all of the stuff that I had been told by my family of origin that was not acceptable, even though I'm really try to be very conscious, I was passing some of that on to him. It's really been a big change for me to be like, oh, that's his HSP trait, and that's okay. And to give him that room and to be who he really is and to accept his sensitivity as a good thing. It's really calmed our relation. There's not that annoying little bit of tension there, even though I'm trying to love him on top of that. There's no having to love him on top of it anymore. I get it. And since I allow it in myself, I can allow it in him. And it's really blossomed. It's been lovely. And thank goodness he's 12. So I got this right before the teen years.
Yeah. I want to respond to that. But Shelly, I want to go back to you before you lose your train of thought.
I think just kind of what Melissa said with her son, I feel that way with myself, that I have more understanding and compassion for myself, not beating myself because I'm too sensitive and I take things too sensitively. Again, it just helps to know that I'm not the only one, and it's okay. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really valuable to be a part of this in that way alone.
Did you ever feel like anybody in the group took up too much time, or you didn't get to have a chance to talk, or, that thing of like when someone talks, you're like, oh my God, so-and-so's talking again. Did you have any of that stuff go on in your group?
No, never. In fact, I think we were all, I think we bounced things off one another pretty smoothly. We took time to listen to each other, and, maybe one meeting or one day, someone would be having a little bit more on their plate than the others, but it seemed to even itself out like the next week. So you didn't really feel like, it was ever being overran by someone.
Yeah, that's the benefit of being in a course with a bunch of HSPs. We're also super sensitive to each other, that I think every time somebody took up a lot of time, we were like, did I take up too much time? We're all like super on top of that.
And we use that as a reality check, because there were times when people were needing more time than others. And so often what that person would share is like, I feel like I'm taking up too much time. Or I would pick up on like, I'm making up a story in my head that you feel like you can't share today because you shared so much last time. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Do you want to get a reality check? And so we did that a number of times. And are you able to share, about how that was, either if you were one of the people that received feedback about that, or the feedback that you gave around that?
We all had that. I think, and we all took turns at least once. And to me, that was so delicious to have that, because I've spent my whole life feeling like I'm too much. I need too much. I want too much. I want to give too much. It was always too much. So to be able to be around people who understood what that felt like, and for you to be able to be sensitive enough to pick up on that's what was happening, and to be able to put a voice to that was huge for me, because that's the voice I've been telling to be quiet for so many years. So for you to give that voice permission to be there and say, hey, I actually need to check in with that voice. That's a valid part of me. That's part of being sensitive. So I loved it. And when people would go off, and your interactions with them on the days that they needed more attention were always helpful.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, we have this stuff that goes on all the time. I mean, I had something go on over the weekend with my son and his girlfriend were in town, and what works for me doesn't work for everybody else. And so when I have to assert myself, I have this narrative of, everybody goes along because I'm the only one that it works for, and, nobody else likes it. and I named it. There's so much power in doing this work because I don't want to walk around with that junk in my head. I mean, there are times when it's appropriate to say something and times when you don't want to do that. You don't want to be saying it all the time. But there's just so much power when we can name what's going on.
Shelly and Melissa, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on with me and to talk about your experiences so candidly. I really, really appreciate it. Hey there. We recorded a total of 4 interviews. If you're interested in getting a sneak peek at all of them, you can go to my YouTube channel. If you want to access that, you can find the link on my website at unapologeticallysensitive.com. We did sit down and do 4 recordings. I put these into one recording for today. As we're heading into the holidays, I would really encourage you to be mindful about how you're feeling. Are your stress levels up? Are you feeling peaceful and calm and grounded? Are you able to be very present? Or are you feeling more stressed and over-aroused? Even with the awareness that I'm having around what I need for the holidays, and I've made a lot of active choices and changes about how I want to manage, I'm still noticing lots of things are coming up with me, even with changes in weather and temperature. I had a lovely holiday over Thanksgiving, but being out of my routine really threw me off. So what I would encourage you to do is to be really mindful about what's going on for you and how are you managing. And if you're managing well, that's great. If you're finding that you're struggling with things or you're not showing up the way that you want to, and you're not sure what to do, you don't have good support, you're needing some tools, maybe you're overspending, you're doing more activities than you want, perfectionism might be coming up, you're having a hard time with self-compassion or self-care. The HSP online course really addresses all of these in a way that really you can see how it's showing up in your life, what keeps you from taking care of yourself, and then you get the support of other people. So just something to keep in mind. If you're interested in the online HSP course, you can go to unapologeticallysensitive.com and go to the HSP group page. There's a link in the show notes. I have early bird pricing. If you register by December 15th, you get a lower price than if you register after December 16th. This is 2019 right now that we're talking, and the courses will launch January 2020. All the information is on the website there. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me at unapologeticallysensitive@gmail.com. I've already had a few people reach out and register for a couple of the different courses. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.